Okay, so welcome back to my channel. We were discussing the biological method in our last video, and I told you about the hypothesis part, and we were going to discuss how to formulate a hypothesis. So let's get into the video. Okay, so here you can see a small diagram. There are two types of two ways to formulate a hypothesis. We can either do the deductive reasoning or the inductive reasoning. Like you can see that there's a small example for hypothesis, like what it actually means to make a hypothesis. It's like if this happens, then this will happen. I'll give you more examples later on. Let's get into deductive reasoning. So the deductive reasoning moves from the general to the specific. It involves drawing specific conclusions from same general principles or assumptions. Deductive logic of if-then is frequently used to frame testable hypotheses. So here we've got an example for that. If we accept that all birds have wings, then sparrows are birds. If we conclude that sparrows have wings. Okay, so here you can see a small example. Like a sparrow is called a bird because it's got feathers. It's got wings. Okay, but okay, so this was just an example. Okay, if you think about it a little more, like bats have wings too, but are they birds? No, they're not birds. But in this case, we say that all birds have wings, which means sparrows are birds. Uh, so this thing can be yeah, you can do some experiments on this and then prove the hypothesis wrong, prove the hypothesis right. The second one you can see in here, if all green plants require sunlight for photosynthesis, then any green plant, when placed in dark, would not synthesize glucose. The end product of photosynthesis. Like if the sunlight is not present, how's the plant going to do the photosynthesis? On the other hand, we've got the inductive reasoning. Reasoning from specific to general. It begins with specific observations and leads to the formulation of a general principle. For instance, if we know that sparrows have wings and are birds, we know that eagle, parrot, hawk, crow are birds, then we induce that all birds have wings. The science also therefore uses inductive methods to generalize from specific events. For example, a scientist observes many butterflies with red-colored flowers, but not yellow flowers in the same garden. The scientist can then make an inductive conclusion from this observation that butterflies are attracted to red-colored flowers. Like it just begins from specific to general. Like in the previous one, the deductive reasoning. Let me show you that again. Uh, we just we chose a generalized idea. Like the first example that you can see here, that all birds have wings. Then sparrows are bird. But it's it's like the opposite, kind of like the opposite, not exactly the opposite, but it just states the specific thing first and then the general thing. Like, the sparrows have wings. That means it's a bird. Like we can choose a lot of birds. Every bird we see have wings. That means all birds have wings. That's how we go from general from a specific statement to general statement. Now, what's the difference between deductive and inductive reasoning? Here you can see like two kind of pictures I've taken from the internet. So the inductive reasoning versus the deductive reasoning. The inductive reasoning, there's written here, someone who uses inductive reasoning makes specific observations and then draws a general conclusion. And in the deductive reasoning, the specific conclusion follows a general theory. So yeah, and here are some more aspects related to that. Deductive reasoning is a process of reasoning that starts from general statement to reach a logical conclusion. And inductive reasoning is a process of reasoning that moves from specific observation to broader generalization. So the deductive reasoning would involve moving from general to specific, while the inductive reasoning would involve moving from specific to general. That's like basically the same thing that we discussed earlier. Okay, so I've got nothing more to say in this video. So goodbye, take care, and thank you so much for listening to me. Let's meet again.